So join me in cheering on your great governor, my friend, and somebody we hope that will continue fighting and never stop, not just for Texas, but the entire country. Thank you so much. Please welcome Governor Abbott.
Howdy, Wichita Falls. Give it up for Sarah Huckabee Sanders. You know, one thing she talked about was coalitions, and governors work in coalitions, and we need Sarah Huckabee Sanders to be added to the Republican Governors Coalition so we can fight back against the Biden administration in Washington, D.C. Great to have you back in Texas. You're welcome back anytime. We look forward to working with you as the next governor of the great state of Arkansas. And it's great to be back in my hometown of Wichita Falls, Texas. You know, they say it's always, and Drew and James, you guys have heard this, it's always great to be out of Austin. You know, the best thing about Austin, it's not too far from Texas. And so you can get right back into Texas real quick. But it's great to be here. I actually want to pick up the lines that Sarah talked about and expand on what it means for Wichita Falls, what it means for the future of Texas. She talked about these radical leftists. We need to understand as we're going into election season right now that we are not going to allow these radical leftist agenda propagandists like Beto O'Rourke to destroy the state of Texas. And I can guarantee you right now in Wichita Falls, Texas, Republicans are going to win in 2022 up and down the ballot. And the reason is very simple. We're just going to compare and contrast the Republican values versus the values that the Democrats stand for. And candidly, it's never been easier than before. They used to be Democrats, and then they were liberals, and then progressives. Now they tell you who they really are. We are running against socialists who are trying to redesign our state. Let me tell you something. I know Wichita Falls well enough. You are not going to allow big government socialists to destroy our state. Let me give you a few examples. Let's take jobs, for example. Jobs in the economy. Listen, Texas is #1 in so many metrics concerning jobs. It's unbelievable. Every year that I've been governor, Texas has been ranked the best state in America for doing business. Every year that I've been governor, Texas has received an award. It's called the Governor's Cup. The Governor's Cup goes to the state that ranks #1 in the United States for the most new economic development projects. We have won that award every year that I have been your governor. But listen, as it concerns businesses, we know the heartbeat of businesses are our small businesses, like the one that we're in right here. Where is the owner of this establishment? Are you around here anywhere? Even better, because Texas is #1 for women-owned businesses also. And we're proud to have you here, but we're proud of you opening up this establishment. Listen, small businesses represent about 9 out of 10 of all businesses in Texas and employ more than half of our Texans. Give it up for our small business owner, but also understanding this fact. As we gather today in Wichita Falls, Texas, also, Texas ranks #1 among all states in America as the best state to start a small business, just like this one. So when you add up all these numbers, it's really kind of amazing. You know, the gross domestic product is the addition of all the goods and services produced, whether it be at this location or others in Wichita Falls or around the state. The Texas economy is now more than a $2 trillion a year economy. Before COVID, if Texas were its own country, we would have had the 10th largest economy in the entire world. That is no longer true, because as we gather in Wichita Falls today, Texas now has the 9th largest economy in the entire world. You may wonder, okay, who did we pass? We surpassed Brazil over the last 2 years. So our economy is larger than Brazil. Our economy is larger than our two neighbors of Canada and Mexico. Our economy is larger than Australia. And particularly important when you look at what's going on in the world today, the Texas economy is even larger than the economy of Russia. And that makes me more powerful than Putin. But there's something more important to you about what all these numbers mean. Because also as we gather today, I can tell you more Texans have jobs than ever before in the history of our great state. Now here's the reason why I'm emphasizing all this, because we cannot take these standings for granted. You need to know that people like Beto running for office, they are running to destroy good-paying jobs, especially in the energy sector in our state. In fact, Beto came out this past week talking about crushing the high-paying jobs in the oil and gas sector as we know it. The oil and gas sector, by the way, that made the United States of America energy independent. And I want you to know, I am running for re-election to protect the oil and gas energy sector jobs that we have in our great state. You know, Sarah touched upon education. It's so important that you grasp that what these radical leftist agenda folks like Beto are doing, they are trying to indoctrinate our kids in school. We're supposed to educate our children, not indoctrinate our children. And one way that we say they're trying to indoctrinate our children is through critical race theory. Now I'm sure it sounds like you know what I'm talking about. Let's understand that they are trying to rewrite the American history that did make America the greatest country in the history of the world, and they're trying to redesign what the future of America is going to look like. But the one way they go about doing that, they divide people on the basis of race, and then they pit those people against each other. Listen, that is not only contrary to the United States Constitution and laws, it's contrary to what Martin Luther King tried to teach us all, and that is we're to be judged not by the color of our skin, but by the content of our character. That is what we stand for here in Texas. So we had your great senator and your member of the House of Representatives, James Frank. During the regular session, they passed a bill that I signed into law that began to end critical race theory in a few subjects and a few grades. And I signed it, but I put it on the special session agenda because I said, while it went forward, it didn't go far enough. And I put it back on special session. I said, here's what I want you all to do. I want you all to ban critical race theory in every subject, in every grade, in every public school in the entire state of Texas. That is what they passed. That is what I signed. Texas now has... Texas now has the strongest ban on critical race theory of any state in the United States of America. But there's something else that we need to come to grips with. And let me set it up this way. I have attended public schools my entire life. I graduated from public schools, a high school, graduated from a public university that sometimes is at odds with Arkansas. But anyway, public education is important. I want you guys to know, the members of our legislature, believe it or not, as governor, I have provided more funding and resources for schools, public schools, than any other governor in the history of the state of Texas. So I'm a strong proponent of our public schools. But that being said, at the end of the day, we need to come to grips with the reality that there is no one, and certainly no public entity, that can replace the role that parents play when it comes to educating our children. And that is why I am advancing a parental bill of rights to ensure that we restore parents to their rightful role as being the primary decision maker of their children's health care and education. Parents matter. But if you look at this radical leftist agenda, one of its most insidious pathways is the pathway of wreaking carnage in our cities, in our communities, through public safety. Have you ever heard of anything more idiotic than defunding the police? It's insane. And so you've seen what's happened in LA and San Francisco and Portland and Seattle. You've seen what happened in Chicago and New York, all these smash and grab and the increase in crime. It's unacceptable. And you saw what happened even here in Texas. There's always one city that tries to be different. Austin, Texas. Austin, Texas defunded their police. The outcome was predictable. This past year, Austin saw an all-time record in the number of murders. That's what happened when you defund law enforcement. Well, I made a commitment that not on my watch as your governor would we allow law enforcement to be defunded in Texas, because we support our law enforcement officers, period. So they passed, and I signed a law that will defund any city that defunds law enforcement in Texas. As your representative and senator know, that when the governor signs a law, it takes a couple of months for it to go into effect. And candidly, I enjoyed watching, after I signed that law, the city of Austin scramble to put together the resources, more than $100 million, to fully fund law enforcement in Austin, Texas, as the Texas law now requires. But as reckless and dangerous as defunding the police is, there's something that's even more catastrophic to both our state and to our country. And that is the reckless and dangerous open border policies imposed by the Biden administration and supported by Beto O'Rourke. Unbelievable. And is it unbelievable what they support, or is it unbelievable that I called him Beto as opposed to Robert Francis? Both are unbelievable. But here's the deal. President Trump figured out the solution to secure our border. He did 4 simple things. He implemented the Remain in Mexico policy, the Title 42 policy. He eliminated catch and release, and he began building that border wall. Those 4 things led to the lowest illegal border crossings in decades. And then when Biden was elected, he eliminated all 4 of those things, and he sent a message to the entire world that the American border was open for anybody who wanted to come in. And by golly, people came in from more than 150 different countries across the globe, including coming from terrorist-sponsored nations. We have a president who has a constitutional responsibility to secure your safety, our safety, the safety of the United States of America from foreign terrorists, and Biden has abdicated that responsibility. Let me tell you something. There's going to be something that happens this November that's going to tee up what I'm about to say. One thing that's going to happen this November is that Nancy Pelosi is going to be fired as Speaker of the House of the United States Representatives. And when she loses that title and a Republican is the next speaker, we expect the investigations to begin into the abandonment, to the Biden administration's refusal to enforce the law. And I tell you what, the first person who needs to be impeached is Homeland Security Secretary Mayorkas. Mayorkas needs to go. But listen, whenever the federal government fails to do the job, especially as it concerns the safety and security of our state, by golly, our state is going to step up and do the federal government's job and secure our border. With the help of with the help of your legislators, they provided $3 billion for Texas to do what no other state in the history of, in fact, if you add all the states together in the history of the country, no combination of states have done what Texas has done to secure the border. As we gather in Wichita Falls today, we have 10,000 National Guard standing watch, securing our border. Give it up for the men and women of the National Guard of Texas for serving our great state. The Texas Department of Public Safety has more than 1,000 officers down there making arrests night and day. And we're doing something different than the Biden administration. As opposed to catching and releasing, we emptied out 2 prisons and converted them into state jails. And we are arresting and jailing people who are coming across the border illegally and trespassing in the Lone Star State. We are arresting drug smugglers. We're arresting human traffickers. We're arresting anybody we can find that is violating the law in the state of Texas. And then on top of all that, for whoever said it, yes, Texas is building our own border wall to secure our state. It's the exact same wall that Trump was putting up. It's about 30 feet high. It's higher than the ceiling of this room. It's made out of the same material, and they go up in panels about the width between those 2 columns right there. Panel after panel after panel goes up every day. But then yesterday I was finally able to announce something that I wanted to keep undercover for a little while until we were able to complete the transaction. You've heard about the leftover pieces of wall that were just laying on the ground that were not being used by the Biden administration. We found a way for Texas to acquire those panels of wall. We acquired 1,700 of those panels that we are now putting up to secure our border even more. So we're putting up more wall faster at a lower cost, and it's a lower cost because of this. The Trump administration, they had to go out and use eminent domain to acquire the land. For us, we have people who are giving us easements because they want the wall built now because of the havoc that's wreaked by the Biden administration. Texas will continue to build that border wall and to secure the border until we return to the White House a true conservative Republican president who will do the federal government's job to secure our border. But listen, it's more than just safety that's on the ballot. Your very freedom is on the ballot this coming election, and we've seen it by some of the policies that Beto has stood for. He came out and said that he wanted to eliminate the tax-exempt status of churches that refuse to bow down to the woke left agenda. And that's a violation of your First Amendment rights, so we all know that. Now, what comes after the First Amendment? The Second Amendment. And what did Beto tell you he's going to do with your guns? Darn right, he said, hell yeah, he's going to come and take your guns. And there you go. So shout it from the rooftop. What did you just say? There you go. I don't think he's ever visited Wichita Falls. But did you hear what he said when he was in Tyler last week? Yeah. This is insane. So all he talked about is he's talked for 2 years how he's going to confiscate your guns and all that kind of stuff. And then when pressed on it in Tyler, Texas last week, he said, oh, I'm not going to take anything from anybody. Now he just wants to support the Second Amendment. Right. Yeah, exactly. Listen, you don't have to worry about it because I've signed more than 20 laws protecting your Second Amendment rights, including making Texas a constitutional carry state and making Texas a Second Amendment sanctuary state to prevent the Biden administration from ever coming and taking your guns. Let me just close with this. I'm going to close by picking up something that Sarah Huckabee Sanders mentioned in her close. She talked about how America is the greatest country in the history of the world. And listen, I can tell that we're in a room full of patriots here today. And I know that you share that belief in your heart. America is the greatest nation in the history of the entire world. I know something else, though. I perceive something else. There may be some of you in this room who may even love Texas a little bit more than you love the United States of America. Here's the main thing I need you to leave with today. Not everybody in the state agrees with your feelings and your opinion. There are people running for governor in Texas who want to redesign the United States of America and redesign the future of Texas in their vision of a socialistic vision for our state that is completely antagonistic to our belief that we are the most exceptional state in the greatest country in the history of the world. Let me tell you something. We are not going to let them take our state away and destroy our state. The fight for the future of Texas begins right now in Wichita Falls, Texas, and goes all the way to November the 8th, when we are going to keep Texas the best state in the greatest nation in the history of the world. God bless you all, and God bless the great state of Texas.